Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Good to see y'all. How about today so far? Yeah. How about Mrs. Gleim? What a great lady, huh? So, we are really excited to start a process. Well, let me rephrase that. We are ready and excited about a process that has already begun that was a work child and a brainchild of Mr. Gleim. And in an effort to make sure that all of our distributors are taken care of, because one person can't be everywhere at one time, right? We have to have people who are competent and capable in doing things like that join us and be a part of our team. And so Peter had a vision, and in that vision, he came up with the idea of us having regional directors put in different locations geographically to assist this company in developing and building, because as we grow, we're going to need more and more help. And who better to help us than the people in the company that have a vision with us and that are leaders with the company already? Make sense? Absolutely, it makes sense, because these are the people who are most compassionate about what we're doing. So let's talk about Peter's vision and where we're going to go with this. This is a proven model. Many, many companies throughout the world use regional directors internally to help guide and direct and help move in different directions. It improves our support and communications, and it improves the training that we have and the tracking of sales that we do throughout this company. So as we move forward, we have to take a position in the direction that we go, and by using this proven model method, we can support and increase all the communication that comes from corporate office out to the field in a much more efficient manner. It keeps us to where we're geographically isolated, to where these individuals are working with the teams in those regions and those regions only, but we keep these individuals on a basis to where they're trained together and they expand. So it allows us as a corporation to focus on national issues that we need to be focused on, because we have the trainers out in the field doing what needs to be done in the regions to help boost and increase support in those areas. This process was started a year ago. Many of you have been involved and live on the East Coast and have been working with our current regional director that was our test cycle. And believe me, the results have been great. We have had an incredible amount of support from the field saying, you know, if we didn't have them in place, I wouldn't have known where to go. And by doing what they've been doing, we're able to increase our sales. That's what it's all about, support. And so what I'd like to do right now is bring to the stage a couple of people that started in this industry, or not in the industry, but started with Beamer a few years back, and achieved the level of team manager, I think, in 9 months, and OD in a ridiculously quick period of time. But here's the reality behind it. Everybody thinks that it's George. The reality behind it is, Chris, come on up on stage for just a minute. This is the powerhouse. It's like I look at Chris and I say, why did you ever attach yourself to an anchor?
Yeah.
And not only that, it's not just it's a big one.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Behind every incredibly great woman, there's a man that at some point can measure up. And in this case, what I'd like to do is bring up the measure up on this team, Mr. George Veronis.
Thank you.
Here you go.
Testing. Am I on? Test.
Am I?
Okay, Chris, back to the garden. I'll be getting my tractor out pretty soon.
We have some role playing to do later.
You know what? I tell this in my academy, but I want to say this because I always like to start with a serious note. But a lot of people know my father's a Greek Orthodox priest, and he's been a priest in the same church for 58 years, believe it or not. And I'll tell you, the oddest feeling is when you go to counseling from your own father about marriage, right? And my dad said to us, you know, he goes, when you get kids, you're going to get distracted. I really want to make sure you understand date night. Go out once a week, take your wife, wine, dancing, romance. It'll save your marriage all your life. And I looked at Chris and I said, we're not stupid. Let's do it twice a week. We'll beat all the odds. And it's worked for 30 years. She goes on Tuesday, I go on Friday. It's been a great marriage. All right. Who's up, me or you? All right, this is like a serious talk, and I'm usually not serious. I'm a little nervous, believe it or not. Where were we starting with this talk? Okay, the regionals, right. Let me get to the next page. All right, the question is, you know, why are they implementing these regions? And what is a regional director? What are the benefits to you? And how do we choose regional directors, right? And so forth. So we're just going to give you a little 20-minute element of what this program's all about, because there's been a lot of conflict in it. Is it the right program, not the right program? Could it work? And as a leadership group, we're sitting down and looking at a lot of different options, you know, from bonus pools to regionals to every way that everybody can grow in a better way together. And because we really believe in an open culture. But when Peter asked us to do this, we were honored to it. And I don't know if he's in the room, but we want to thank Peter, of course, for letting us pilot this program. And it wasn't easy because I said, so what is a regional? Can you give us the guidelines? He said, yeah, go be a regional director. I'm like, thanks for the guidelines. We appreciate it. So we had to kind of create this and put it together. It took 6 months. But one thing I want to say, at the end of the year, or end of year now, it's the year of this month, we had a lot of fun doing it. We had a lot of success. But I want to do something because I always, you know, Peter always gives us credit that we did this or Nick says this. But here's the reality. I want all the managers that are in the East Coast just to stand up for a minute. Just stand up so you can see who these people are. Look at the managers. So, and I want Peter to see this in the crowd because, thanks guys. And the reason I say that is because, you know, these are different teams working together. They weren't all in our group. And it took a lot of synergy and a lot of energy to really stay on the same page and work together. And I'll tell you, in our experience after the whole year, we had almost no conflict eventually, and everybody worked together, and we had a chance to build each other's teams and have a really open culture. And I think that's the whole idea of the whole process. If we can have an open culture and everybody can work together throughout the country. But the question's been all year, well, how come we don't have a regional director? And why is there not one in the West Coast and the Midwest and so forth? So we had to pilot this program. So let me show you a couple things. It launched in the East Coast, and this is hard because I'm used to looking at screens, so I'm going to switch gears. Sorry, Chris. So we launched here, and our first goal was to manage East Coast and the academies. And we actually implemented 45 academies in the year, and we were personally involved in 21 of those academies. And it was a lot of traveling, and the reason we did that is because we wanted to get to know all the leaders, see what their issues were, see how we can grow better as a team. We expanded trainings, we improved communications, we increased the overall sales, and mostly we started looking at different areas. I kind of laughed the other day. Someone called me somewhere in the East Coast, and they said, hey, I really want to open up Costa Rica. If I get in Costa Rica, we could blow it out. They went Costa Rica. They went on and on. I go, hey, let me help you out. There's 50 countries wide open. They're called Delaware, New Jersey, Maryland, Virginia, Connecticut. And I looked at our stats and I said, oh, Maryland did like 5 sales last month. Connecticut did like 30 and so forth. So we started looking at different areas we could expand. And then ultimately the goal was, can we put a model together that would make sense in other regions that everybody could work together? And that's what we worked on establishing. And then we're going to enter phase 2. So do you want to say that?
Yeah, I'll say something. It was a crazy, crazy year. I think between January and April, we were home 2 weekends out of that entire period of time. But I actually like crazy. It's probably one of the reasons I married George. But if I can couple crazy with underdog, now that's a story I'm going to be all in on. And one of my favorite stories actually revolves around a group of 8 rowers from Britain who decided in the mid-1990s that they were going to make an ambitious goal. This team hadn't done particularly well. The country hadn't done well. They hadn't won a gold in that sport since about 1912. So it was truly a crazy goal for them. But they sat down one day in a bar in Cologne, and they said, everything we do, every action, every decision, every behavior is going to revolve around one core one core goal. Will it make the boat go faster? And so they set aside their egos, and they decided to band together. They were going to trust each other. They were going to abandon individual training routines for the greater good. They were going to commit to daily behavior. They were going to accept criticism as if it were given in the spirit that this is what's going to help us reach our goal. And along the way, they did exactly that. And they did it by making not just working hard, but by making continual improvement. And they did it by sticking their oars in the water and digging deep. And when I look back on this year, that's exactly what all the managers in the Eastern region did. They welcomed us into their territories. They shared their teams. They viewed us as another oar to put in the water. And wonderful things happened. And I just want to say that we are just another opportunity to help your boat go faster. And perhaps along the way, we will achieve the craziest of dreams, the dream of putting a beamer in every home.
That was really good. That was really good. Well, anyway.
Is that a mic drop?
Yeah. So I wasn't ready for that story. It was a really good story. All right. Well, anyway, so let's talk about why regions and some of the things. You can look up. Is it on the board? Yeah. So let me just put all these bullets up and we'll go through them. So first of all, we want to improve the communication, which we just mentioned. You want to improve field support. We want to grow or help the growth of the corporate demands, because corporate's doing a lot more things that you can see next year, which we need. They have corporate strategies that Nick's bringing up, that mostly the OD group and the team managers, we talk about different aspects and we come together. So we want to do more things on a broad range. And one of the things on advanced training is, I don't think there's enough training, right? How many would like more training? Everybody, right? So we have academies, okay? We also have what we created as Beamer Saturdays. We have lunch and learns. We have all kinds of different trainings throughout the country, boot camps, et cetera. And the whole goal is just to keep giving people more aspects on how they can help and grow their business in a positive way. So we're going to start implementing a lot more in the training. And then, of course, we're going to track data. A little plug here on Saturday, the 20th of October, there is the next, go to beamersaturday.com. And Yusuf and I are going to do our last Beamer Saturday for the year in the Florida area. So if you're near Largo, register. We're going to have a lot of fun doing that together. And Yusuf, by the way, has been a great mentor for me all through Beamer for 3 years, and it's made a big difference in our lives as we go. So we're going to also track data, right? And data means, like, people call up and say, we want to do an academy in this area. And they go, we know everybody in the area. And we go, well, we're not sure it's ready. So we can look at the data and see how many new reps came in each area. So it sees if it warrants an academy, right? They're going to track things like sales, who's advancing, the growth, where we could work on areas, what we could do better. So Robert, as you know, is very statistical. He created all these spreadsheets for us now that we could see everything going on in the region, even down to each city, down to who's joining. And we're going to provide that with all the team managers because you can start seeing what's better out there. Let's see. So this is kind of redundant a little bit, but we'll put this up. You know, what does regional do? They're going to lead the field and geographic area. You're going to help them hit the goals, organize academies, then create trainings, handle and solve problems. You know what? There's a lot of issues. And to Chris's credit, the other day I said I don't get many calls anymore. I like to do through it. She goes, yeah, because here's how you answer every call. What's your problem? Oh, call Chris, 717-475-2045. And Chris gets on the phone like 30 times a day. And Yusuf's at our house one day. He goes, X me out for regional director. I'll never do what you guys do, because he was listening to all the calls. So anyway, tracking data. So let's talk about the benefits to you, because this is the key, right? Everybody wants more support. So you're going to have a dedicated person. And I get a lot of calls. Someone says, hey, you know, I got signed up to someone in California. I just moved to New Hampshire. I'd love to know what's going on. And now they could call the regionals in the area and go, hey, we'll give you our whole calendar. Here's every, not just Beamer Academy, here's every training in the entire region, to even in-home meetings that are open, right? So we can provide all where you can go. They say, who could I hook up? I'm an orphan. Well, you know you're not an orphan, because there's plenty of people that'll help you grow. So that's going to be providing support for geographical people, better response time, again, for questions and answers, more option for educational training, and also providing a game plan. You know, we did a call in our region a couple months back, actually the first quarter of the promotion, and we did 90 days of accountability, and we did a 1-hour call on some modules I put together on how to do certain things and modules on good behavior. And you know what, that quarter, we did more sales of that promotion. Our goal was everybody had to do 3 sales to hit the promotion. But stuff like that, we got to do more often. And I think I have it in another slide, but also provide, you know, better team unity and also recognition in events. I don't think we do a lot of events where we all get together and feel the camaraderie and get the recognition everybody deserves. So the regions are going to do that. And here's the neat thing. We're not going to be separate. So there might be 3 or 4 more regions coming up in 2019. And the goal is that everybody's doing the same behavior as regional directors and guiding the field. But we're not overtaking anybody's team. We're not the new team manager for that team. You're still responsible. We're just guiding and helping the path, which is a pretty cool idea. And then how do you choose them? Like, who's going to be part of this that's going to represent you? So this is good. We're looking at ODs and OD pluses at the beginning that have the most experience, that grew the biggest businesses, because we need to know they have knowledge, they understand the business, they've been through it. You know, the old saying, I like that saying, it said, hey, don't worry that your kids aren't listening to you. What is it? Worry that they're always watching you, right? And I remember my daughter was like 16. She was the worst of my family. She was going all over the place, terrible driver. I was nervous as could be. And I finally say, Lil, I had enough. Get out of the car, I'm driving home. And I come to a stop sign and it says no U-turn, but my house is over this way a little bit. So what do you think the experienced George driver did? I made the U-turn, and what do you think my daughter said? Dad, what are you doing? And I went home, and I remember Chris goes, how did it work out with Elizabeth? I go, I blew it. I go, she won't remember one word I said. All she's going to remember is I made that illegal U-turn. So the reason we want the ODs to do this is because they walked in your steps. They did what you had to do. They led by example, and they're the best people out there right now to lead. The other thing is they have to be completely committed to Beamer. So we don't want people that are doing 2 or 3 MLMs or other deals. We got to be committed, because this is a big responsibility, and it's kind of in between corporate and independent distributor. The third thing is skills in leadership, management, training, right? So we want everybody that's in this position, obviously can manage a big group. They have some organizational skills, and they have leadership and training. And we're going to teach a lot of that too, and there's a lot of good qualified people. Then solid producer with a track record. Obviously, they're going to have a track record if they're at that position. And then last, which is the big one, you know, strong ethics and the ability to be impartial. One of the obstacles was, well, hey, we still have a team, and now we're helping other people in the region. Can we be impartial or can we be fair when an issue comes up? And you really can, because here's our fallback. If it's not fair, company steps in like Nick at the GM and they take over those issues. So it's going to be a good process and the good ability to do that together. So let me go to, let's say, some growth. So what's the goal in 2019? All right, one of the goals is obviously to increase sales. So I asked the company, interestingly enough, I said, what's your goal every year? What's a good year at a Beamer? You know, because we went like this. I know people know this, but 4 years ago, we were doing maybe 100 sales a month in that range. And there was a great group from Bettina to Ann Bernard to Cindy Schellenberg to Chip Vaughn that did a phenomenal job building the foundation of this company in the United States. That took a lot of work, and it's always tough to be in the beginning, right? And then a new crop, thanks. And then, you know, Barb and George Gossage are phenomenal people, good friends. We baptized their child. And I'll tell you what, they stepped in and said, I never forget, George and Barb sat with me and said, I don't think you realize what we have here. And I said, yeah, I do. A $6,000 piece of cloth that doesn't make noise, doesn't vibrate, beeps at 8 minutes, and you're telling me it's worth, you know, whatever it was, $6,000. And he goes, no, you don't get it. And you know what? I give them credit because they had the vision. I'll never forget, George says, I'm going to get 5 guys with or without you, and I know this is going to change lives. And we've been waiting all our life for this. He goes, trust me on this. And I'll talk about that later today. So they brought in probably the next 80% of the people in this room into this group, and we went from 100 sales to over 1,000 sales. Give you a perspective, that took the business from about 3 to 5 million a year to about 80 to 100 million a year in the United States, all because of their leadership. Let's hear it for Barb and George Gossett. So the point is, we got such great leadership, and the goal is, how do we increase those sales by working together? How do we increase rank advancement? You know what? I don't know all the statistics, and I know a lot of people come in because they just have a passion for the product and they want to share it, but we still only have about 15% of the people in our company that make it to senior and sell 4 units. That's crazy. And you know why that's crazy? Because the other 85% are so passionate changing lives. How do we get them out there to cultivate it better and train them better so they could change 20 or 30 lives? How many would like to do that, right? That haven't done senior? Sure. So we're going to work on that. Increase distributed enrollments, improve compliance. I think Bill's coming up soon. How about just live by compliance? So we'll start with that. And we're going to implement, live stream. How many people saw the Carlsbad B20? Okay, listen to this. 400 people were at that event, or 350, and over 700 people watched it on TV just that 1 hour. So we're sitting as leaders going, this is crazy. We're out there doing these great trainings, and I remember Yusuf and I were in Atlanta, and we trained like 80 people, and it was a good training. Everybody came and said, this is great information. And I got in the car and I said, Yusuf, this is nuts. We're training 80 people in Atlanta. Why is it 800 people seeing this training? So we said as a leadership, let's start doing live. Is it called live streaming or online? Live streaming. Live streaming. And who would like to see more of that when good trainers are doing something, right? That would be good. So that'll be a big goal, from the regionals down to the managers, because there's a lot of talent in this room. And I feel like I look at the East Coast and go, man, there's some great guys like Kim and Mike and Dave and Randy and all these guys out there doing great trainings, and we don't even know what they're doing. And we're over here doing great trainings, and they don't know what we're doing, right? So why don't we share our trainings, and we'll grow bigger as a company. And you know what's great? Someone said to me, do we really want to share all our information? I said, there's 78 million baby boomers and 150 million horses, dogs, and cats in this country that need Beamer, right? We're not even close to tapping the mark with 1,000 sales. And then identify and develop, support emerging markets, and then foster. This last one I really want to sit on for a minute here. Foster an open culture. So I was with another company about 10 years ago, and it was kind of like my team, your team, my team. And we implemented a strategy with pools, and we all said, let's work together to increase the money in the company. And we said the only way we'll do that is if we all become an open culture and share with each other. And Bettina is the ultimate advocate if we're really about heart, then we need to share, right? Let's live what we say. Just say live by example. So we want to open up all the trainings and presentations for everybody and have that open spirit. And I even had someone last night in my group say, well, George, you know, I close my house meeting, I get like 5 a week, and I go, don't you want 20 in your house? She goes, yeah. I go, don't you want the stories? She goes, yeah. And I go, well, bring the other people in. They're going to come in and tell stories, and it's going to make you more sales. And she didn't understand that concept at first, thinking like it was my group. So we got to have an open culture that'll make a huge, huge difference. Okay, do you want to say anything else, Chris, on that? You're not?
You're doing a beautiful job, George.
Okay,
I've never been more attracted to you.
Oh, yeah. Hey. You know what? As you all know, man, that works now. And then we get in the car, oh, yeah, I'm really tired. Your window's closed. I'm like, so let's get to the reality, right? Oh, yeah. All right. I better be careful. So, I know I lost my train of thought.
We had a wonderful, wonderful year.
I've been thinking the potential I have for later.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
All right. Okay, so anyway, let me see if I missed anything. So at the end of this, I'm going to show you a quick video, but I will say this. Let's work together. Let's cultivate this regional concept. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be some conflict and different opinions on it, but let's get a couple people and let's start building the region and just help each other out. It'll be a lot of fun, and we'll have a lot of camaraderie from doing that. And, you know, later I'm going to talk about vision and passion and where you can go with Beamer and our story a little bit. But I'll tell you, you know, Chris and I were down and out 7 years ago, and we were looking for a home, and we were fortunate to find Beamer like a lot of you. And, you know, we have such great people to thank. Like, you know, I think of Dr. Burke all the time because he's the first guy I ran into one evening. He spent 2 hours with me late at night and just giving me basically the culture of this company, and I felt it from his heart, and that's why we all get involved. So there's one element left. I asked the company if we could spend a little extra money to do these regionals, and you know, they weren't really sure. They go, what for? And I said, I think we need to get somebody that's a little tougher to really teach us structure and make sure people are doing the job better. And interesting enough, Chris goes to me, hey, you know, do you know the Reebok story? And I go, no. She goes, Reebok brought in a national regional director in the West Coast, and it changed their business by 46%. So I asked the company to get started for New Year's if we could bring this individual in and teach us the skills. How many would like to grow by 46%? All right. So I want you to look up at the screen, and we're going to decide. I don't know if Peter and the staff's back there, but at the end, you guys decide if you want us to bring this guy in by the cheering or not, and we can put some pressure on the company. Is that fair? Yeah. All right, so let's see. So Reebok is the company, as you know, good shoe company. And let's, you got sound back there, guys? We're set? Okay.
When we asked Reebok to send us Terry Tate, some people thought we were crazy. But I'm a firm believer in paradigm breaking, outside the box thinking.
Hey, buddy.
Break was over 15 minutes ago, Mitch!
And since Terry's been with us, our productivity has gone up 46%. We're getting more from our employees than ever before.
You know you need a cover sheet on your TPS reports, Richard. That ain't new, baby.
Hey, Terry.
Hey, Janice.
But what's really impressed me is how Terry's become part of the Felcher family.
You get high, baby.
He fits right in here.
That's a long-distance call, Doug.
To be honest, I wish Reebok sent us 10 Terry Tates.
You want to play games, Gene? Well, when it's game time, it's pay time, baby. Woo!
All right, so how many people like Chris to coach you or Terry to coach you? So anyway, and just to close, I think I have one more slide. Boy, whoever thought I'd finish 9 minutes early. There we go. So where's my next screen? Oh, there we go. So I do want to end by truly thanking everybody. You know, someone said to me at one of the academies, it was interesting, they said, you know, are you really about the heart and about the product, or are you about just making the money? And I said, well, you'll hear my story later. We've been all about the heart. And I go, seriously, in 3 years, we never called one person about the business of Beamer. Not once, about the opportunity, always about the product, because we know that made the difference. And when I was at my first academy, there was 100 people there, and I said, after the first day of the science, I said, raise your hand if you understand the compensation plan. Now, it's not rocket scientists, 25, 8, and 3, right? And 3 hands went out of 120 people. And I turned to Chris and I said, we got a career here and this is gonna be a phenomenal business. And she goes, why? I said, because 120 people in here paid $6,000 because they wanted the product, not because they were hyped about a business, right? And I'll end with this. And the lady said to me, you know, about the business, and I said, listen, we have a beautiful culture here because we got 50% of the people that are all about the heart, all about salt of the earth. 100% of people are about the heart, but 50% are more geared towards that. We got 30, 40% that are all science oriented, and we love those people because they bring all the credibility, right? And we got 5 or 10% that are a little bit more entrepreneur aggressive with it, but that's okay, because guess what? They bring a lot of the revenue, and they're actually transforming more lives, right? They sold thousands of units. So in this culture of Beamer, I want to thank all people here, because if we work as understand each other's personalities, we'll end up having a way better culture together, and we love each of us, right? We want all 3 or 4 of those personalities to stay together. So I want to thank everybody, and you know, we have the best Beamer family, and when Phil said that, it's not one of those MC comments. I really believe that. We have a great culture, we have a career to build, and we have a long lasting. And I want to thank Chris because she raised our 3 kids, and behind the scenes, she had not worked. She was very intelligent out of college, was a top reporter for the Richmond Times, and she was ready to work for the Philadelphia Inquirer. Then she wanted to be a lawyer, and then we had a baby, and I come from a Greek traditional family, and I begged her to stay home for 6 weeks, and she said, okay, but I didn't beg her to stay home for 25 years, but she stayed home for 25 years, and she came out of the workplace, and she said, let's do this together. First time we're working together, and we had a joy traveling and meeting everybody. So I thank you from all my heart, and Chris does, I'm sure, too.
And now that baby boy is our newest group leader. And Alexander.
Alex, stand up. Alex.
And that's everything we want. I mean, when they say you're in here to build a legacy business, and it's obviously we would never encourage our children to come here if we didn't think that this was something that would last a lifetime. So thank you, Peter, for creating something for us that we can actually pass down to our child and see this for years and years and years to come. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. See ya. Good hug.
Good, right?
Yeah.